Well, we've got a new series after the Toronto Raptors tie it up at 2 games apiece against the Boston Celtics, taking game 4, 100-93. I'm Sierra Goodwill, back with the whole crew, Jimmy Toscano, Josue Pavon, and Bobby Manning. Guys, initially, it looked like the Celtics were a little motivated from that Game 3 heartbreaker, but as soon as the shots weren't falling, it seemed like they almost got disconnected as a group, and I frankly think that the Raptors out-hustled them and had more energy than them this entire game. What happened in this game for the Celtics to have such a poor showing and allow the Raptors to even this thing up?
Yeah, it was fairly even. Go ahead, Josue.
No, I was going to say, you sort of just said like 80% of it. I think it came down to effort. The offensive rebounding was a big one. Second chance points, over 20 second chance points for the Toronto Raptors. It seemed like the commentators noticed by like the second half, but I'm screaming at the TV by halftime. They gave up 15 by halftime, and it just kept going from there. And especially throughout the stretch, that fourth quarter, when it was really important. The Celtics were probably 1 or 2 3-pointers away from really pulling close, which would have added a lot of much-needed pressure on Toronto. It seemed like Nick Nurse was sweating regardless. But, yeah, I mean, I give credit to Toronto Raptors for holding on that fourth quarter and for controlling the tempo and the outcome of the game for sure. But, again, I mean, the Celtics, the poor execution down the stretch offensively, I don't think that the Celtics will continue to do that moving forward, but it really did them in on top of the offensive rebounding that they gave up.
Yeah, Celtics couldn't keep runs rolling. I think their best run of the game was that Semi-Ojeleye stretch, honestly. Fourth quarter especially, no sign of any runs. Grant had a couple of rolls to the rim, but you see the Raptors stack it together with hustled plays, doing the little things. Ibaka, cut, a putback. You got Tice throwing it out of bounds for the Celtics, turnovers piling up. Just all these miscues that kept them from sustaining these runs. And Kyle Lowry, again, he wants this series, diving out of bounds, big shots, hustle plays, playing 40 minutes, and they keep stacking together all these little things. He's playing well. Van Fleet's playing well. Pascal Siakam gets going in this game, and the Raptors just keep ticking toward being the team we know they can be.
I hate to say that player A wanted it more than player B, because I don't think that's actually true. I think everyone wants it. Everyone wants to win the game, but it
a little bit more, just a little bit.
It looked like Lowry was playing to win harder than anybody on the Celtics was. And we've watched a lot of Celtics games this season. I would imagine between all of us, we've seen every game, obviously. This had to be one of the most frustrating games of the season for them. Just the way that they played, the lack of execution on offense. I thought guys were trying to play hero ball. They were shot chucking, driving to the hoop, head down, offensive fouls, turnovers. Bobby already mentioned a few. There just wasn't a player that was able to sort of lead the charge, not the figurative charge, lead the way. Plenty of the players out there were charging, but unfortunately they weren't leading because whether it was Marcus Smart, whether it was Jaylen Brown, those two guys gave you negative on offense, and they didn't do much on the defensive end tonight, or at least Jaylen Brown didn't. And it was just one of those frustrating games. Now the Raptors have life, right? You were 0.5 seconds from being up 3-0. Now we're talking about a 2-2 series, and literally it can go either way. I'll tell you what, if the Celtics play like this again, they have no business advancing. But if they play more like the team that we saw in Game 1, which is their true identity, I still like the Celtics over the Raptors.
Well, I think one of the main storylines for the Celtics in this game, and the key contributor to their loss, is the fact that Kemba Walker only took 9 shots. And he said it after the game. He said that is completely unacceptable on his behalf. I don't know if it's completely on Walker's shoulders to accept the blame for only taking 9 shots. Obviously, some of that is his fault, but the ball movement wasn't where it usually is. We've seen a lot of the Celtics overpassing this playoffs, and that absolutely not the case tonight. What happened there, and how do they make sure that your star point guard is getting more looks?
I think it's up to Kemba to sort of make that decision, right? I mean, he's been in this league long enough. He's an established name. He's an all-star point guard, and he's shown time and time again that he usually makes the right decisions when it comes down to it. I think, again, we talked about it heading into this postseason. Like, this whole thing is sort of an adjustment for Kemba, right? He's never had these sort of pieces next to him. And it's a great thing. It's a really good thing for someone like Kemba. But also sometimes it can be, tough to make those decisions. And I think that a little bit of that happened. I think he was torn between, let's get Jason Tatum going. Maybe we should try to keep getting Brown going. He did take a big three-pointer that looked like it went like halfway through the hoop before it popped right back out. So that was unfortunate. really would have turned things around, would have made it a one-possession game. But, yeah, I think it's up to Kemba, and I trust Kemba with that responsibility. And, sure, he doesn't have a whole lot of postseason experience, but he's played a lot of basketball. He's been through a lot of tough games and grinded out wins that I think he's the right guy for the job, and I'm not worried about it. I'm really not.
I'm going to keep giving the Raptors credit because they deserve it.
Oh, God. This freaking guy.
I thought they took a risk going to the system where they're changing their defense pretty much every possession. And you saw it in game 3. The Celtics were right there because they weren't getting comfortable in their different defensive looks. But as they kept building, the Celtics are becoming the more uncomfortable team now, going against the box and one, the zone, the man, some possessions with the drop. So the Celtics never know what defense they're looking at any given time down the floor. So that adds to your hesitation, makes you less willing to attack directly because you don't know what's coming at you. And Sierra said the overpassing. We're starting to see more of that now into game 4. So that Raptors adjustment midway through the series to really just mix up their defensive looks every possession has changed this big time.
Yeah, Kemba's right. I mean, he, as the point guard, I said this in the postgame show, he needs to give the game what it needs. He needs to know as the point guard what he needs to do to get his team going, right? He's the quarterback out there. And we've seen it with, all the great point guards, they'll go through games where they might, maybe they don't need to score 25. Maybe they end up with 15 assists, right? But Kemba Walker, he shot 4 of 9 tonight. We don't even know if he was, on a night where everyone in the Celtics was cold, we don't even know if he was cold because he never took enough shots. He wasn't aggressive enough offensively in the second half. He needed to be, and he wasn't. And the Celtics were desperately searching for somebody to hit shots and to score and get to the line and all those things. And to me, it felt like he needed to be more aggressive on that offensive end, especially coming off such a great game 3 that he had where he took over that game. We know he can do it. And the Celtics listen, the kids needed Dad tonight, and Dad did not show up the way Dad needed to show up.
Well, for all the rest of our Celtics
those poor kids
coverage, you can find it on our website at clnsmedia.com. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Celtics All Access.
The Garden Report is brought to you by Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code MAXWELL20 at manscaped.com. Take your grooming game to the next level.